guys, here's another Bible story about Jesus. This is the one where Jesus calls his disciples. Now, Jesus' ministry had begun. He traveled around preaching about God, and he told people about God's love and telling them to turn from their sins and choose a new way, a way that involved love, and they didn't have to work for being good, and they were made righteous just by Jesus alone. Well, large crowds followed around Jesus and listened to him teach. One day, Jesus was walking along by the Sea of Galilee, and he saw two brothers. This is Peter and Andrew. They were out there on the lake, and they were surfing. Oh, no, just kidding. They were not surfing. They were in their boat. They were out there catching butterflies. What? Were they catching butterflies? What do you guys think? They weren't catching butterflies. They were out there catching fish. Isn't that cool? They were out there catching fish because that's what people did. But Jesus called out to them while they were on the lake. And he said, "Hey, you guys, follow me. And instead of catching fish, I will teach you how to catch people." What does that mean? Well, Peter and Andrew had to go find out. So they decided to follow Jesus. Right away, they followed. Later, they saw two more brothers. Their names were James and John. They were also out in a boat, and they were fixing their nets. Jesus called out to them, and they immediately got up right away and decided to follow Jesus. His followers were growing. He saw several more. He went on, and he met a man named Matthew, and he was a tax collector, and he met a bunch of other guys. Some of them brought friends along to come meet Jesus. Some of them just came running, super excited to see him. Well, you know what was super cool about Jesus and all of his friends that he chose? He chose them to be his followers. They called him Rabbi, which means teacher. A teacher usually sat around and waited for his students to come sit at his feet while he taught them things. But not Jesus. He chose each and every one of his followers by name. And he chooses us too. Well, what I love about these guys is they immediately got up and followed Jesus. Well, you remember that guy Matthew that I told you about? He was super wealthy. He had a really big house because, like I said, he collected taxes from people. That means money. Really, he took their money, and guess what? He kind of cheated a lot of the time. He wasn't exactly a good guy. But when Jesus saw him, he said, "Yup, that's the one. I want him. In fact, Matthew, we're going to have dinner tonight." "Huh? Dinner? Where? I'm up for eating." "Well, at your house, of course." "Oh, okay." So Matthew invited Jesus over to his house, and they had a really big feast together. They ate wonderful food, and they had wonderful guests. But you know what was interesting about a lot of their guests that night? They didn't look like everybody else. These guests weren't religious people. They didn't go to church all the time. They didn't do all the right things. They didn't look good. You know what? And some of them probably weren't nice, a lot like Matthew. There was some sad ones that came and ate with Jesus. There were some hurt ones that came and ate with Jesus. And there were some naughty ones that came and ate with Jesus. And they were all welcome at the table. Well, when the church people saw this, they were so mad. They couldn't believe it. They accused Jesus of being naughty too. If you're going to eat with naughty, ugly, disgusting people, you must be just like them. They don't bathe like we do. They don't clean up their houses like we do. They don't say the things that we say, and they don't come to church. They even eat really weird food. Blech. Why are you eating with such sinners? Well, you know what Jesus said? He said, I have come for the people who are sick. I haven't come for the healthy people, because I am the one who heals. A doctor doesn't heal healthy people. A doctor heals sick people. I came to invite all sinners to come back to God, no matter what they look like or behave like, because I came to shower them with my love. Next video, Sydney, I'm just going to introduce all of the disciples. I'm just going to tell the kids all of their names, and maybe you can even use this space to pop up their names and stuff. Okay. I don't really know how this ought to be in the order. I don't know how I'll introduce it, so let me know if you have ideas. Jesus chose all 12 of his disciples. He got to pick them because he knew them, and he called them by name. How about I not stumble over my words? Okay. Jesus chose all 12 of his disciples. He looked at them not because of how they behaved and not what they looked like or what they did for a living, but he looked at them and he saw their hearts. He chose them because he loved them. He chose them because they had purpose in his life. He wanted to have friendship and relationship with all of these people specifically, and he didn't make any mistakes asking them to be his disciples. He chose Simon, who was called Peter, and then Peter's brother, Andrew. Do you remember he chose the other brothers, James and John? He chose Philip. He chose Bartholomew. He chose Matthew and Thomas. He chose James, the son of Alphaeus. Oh, and Thaddeus. And also a guy called Simon the Zealot. And Judas Iscariot. He ended up not loving Jesus the way that he should, but he was still chosen on purpose for a purpose. Just like you and me, we are chosen by Jesus on purpose for a purpose to follow him. From the very beginning of time, he knew your name, and he wants you to follow him and be filled with his love.